started out, you go way back to the beginning, it was people that I didn't know. Um, I was charging, you know, I'd say, okay, here, it would be, let me think back to when I first started. For complete funnels and helping them, all the copywriting and everything. There was a lot of testing to see exactly what would work, in different markets. And I think that I was, like, boy, I'm trying to go back, like, ask me to go back here, like, to 2010, 2011.
These are the type of people you want to learn from. People are way ahead of you. All right. 10 years ahead of you.
Figure out how long approximately it would take me, and then it would be like I charged them like $100 an hour.
At the time.
Yeah, at the time.
And then what was that like your peak that you once you were like in the game?
Well, then it was like I could charge them a flat fee, and it would be like, an outrageous amount. So, um, what was it, like 5 years ago?
What was that amount, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, here, okay, I'll give you an idea. I was making about 150 a year, and I was working maybe 3 hours a day.
Oh wow.
So maybe 15 to 20 hours a week.
Nice.
So that's what I was doing. So,
Well, yeah,
a
like you
lot of
said,
it.
that is a good income, and then that like you're not even doing a whole ton if you're just working
Right.
3 hours a day.
Yeah,
And I'm sure it's in front of a computer or something, right?
yeah, exactly.
Meeting with people, yeah.
Yeah. And it was only working by referral,
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I wouldn't take on unless somebody recommends somebody else to me. Then I'd interview them. And if they were an asshole or just a jerk or I just didn't like them,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be difficult working with them, I wouldn't take them on as a
Yeah, you
client.
don't even have to take them on at that point because supply and demand.
So,
What
that's where I was.
did you like what was your upbringing like? Like did you always know you'd get to like where you wanted to be from the start, or how would you say you
Well,
developed into that?
I grew up on a farm in northwestern Minnesota.
Okay.
It's outside a small town. And we didn't have a whole lot of money. And so I always knew that when I grew up, that I was going to do whatever it took to become a millionaire.
Okay.
And so, and I've made and lost money 3 times in my life, and um, so I always knew that I was always driven.
Nice.
But my dad was a farmer, and so I knew that if you want to be successful financially, the quickest and the surest way of doing that is be your own boss.
Okay.
Didn't have a whole lot of money until the farm was paid off when I was a senior in high school. And then, he farmed for a few more years and then they sold the farm and retired.
Mm.
So, that was my background.
You were always driven from the start, you'd say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so, not everybody is cut out to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
You look at the risk profile, like even as a realtor, it's like you come in second, you don't get paid.
Right. Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
You don't get the
Fortune,
listing or you don't,
like they say, fortune favors the bold, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I learned how to do online marketing, and I learned then how to do lead generation and conversion, funnels for realtors. And now I just
Nice.
do it for myself.
Nice. That's beautiful.
Yep.
That's honestly why I'd say that I got so into marketing and advertising because I just was automatically sold the idea of if I can make a business money, then I can do it for my own business when, like, let's say I make one, right? Like I get into a business like the restaurant business or whatever, right? Or I start my own home service business, and let's say it's a remodeling company, just to say that, right? And
Yep.
now I can do my own marketing and advertising because I know the skill, right? I do it for other home improvement companies. Now
Yep.
I can do it for myself. And it's like cuts that cost. And now it's like we just focus on building a team. That's kind of how I would see it. But
Yep.
it obviously there's so much steps into it. But I think it does take like a solid 2 years of just failure to
Oh, yeah.
finally, yeah, because like you said, not everybody's cut up for entrepreneurship because some will fail like 5 times and they'll be like, all right, that's it for me, right? And so it might take more than 5 times.
Well, yeah, the key to it, as far as I was concerned, when I was doing online marketing, it was like fail, 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 fail as fast as I can, you know, and see what works,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, and then figure out what doesn't work, and then go on to the next thing and like, okay, what else can I do?
Yep.
And that's how I looked at it. And it was just fail as fast as I could and as many times as I could so that I could figure out what actually worked.
Nice. Because you get the data back, right? And
Yeah.
now you're like, okay, like I know how to optimize off of this. So did you have like any, I don't know, any people that like kind of showed you the steps, showed you what they knew, or like would you say you built a relationship with someone like a mentor who you say would, that was so much further ahead in business and experience than you were? Did you
Well,
happen to have someone like that?
the guy that I worked with, it was a company called Legal Match.
Hmm.
Um, he helped me out a little bit initially,
Okay.
and then it was like Mike Koenig's was critically important. He had a number of companies. He advises, large national and international companies now. But Mike Koenigs, he had a number of companies, and then Frank Kern was really important. He advises, you know, he takes on individual clients, but he also has clients like Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone and people like that.
Right. I definitely know about Frank Kern's work.
Okay. So yeah, a lot of, I took a number of his courses.
Hmm. Yeah, he's really smart with it. So I'm sure you learned a lot, taking
I
courses
did,
from
yeah.
him. I don't know, could you kind of like go over maybe some challenging times that you had and that how you overcame that along your journey?
Well, I had enough, like it was the first 2 or 3 years, it was like there'd be months where I was in the hole,
Hmm.
but I had enough of a nest egg to, that I was good for 3, 4, 5 years, and I knew that. So I just went, okay, let's figure out what doesn't work, and then find something that does work. And it was just fail as fast as I could.
Yeah, that
And I was
sounds
like, I'm not
accurate.
giving up. That's not an option.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that sounds really accurate. So you don't take on any marketing clients anymore.
No, no, I make more than enough from real estate, and
Nice.
I really enjoy it.
Do you?
Yeah, most definitely.
What about it is it that you like the most?
Um, when I was doing online marketing, I didn't feel like I was making enough of a direct difference.
Okay.
And here, I changed people's lives dramatically for the better. one family at a time. I'll give you an example. Like I just worked with a couple that were in their 60s, and 30 years ago, they bought a large 2-story home on a quarter-acre lot with a pool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now their four kids are growing. They live in this big 3,500 square foot home by themselves, and their baby boomer hips and knees are starting to creak and ache, and stairs are becoming a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting ready to retire, and they've got all this maintenance on the house and the yard and the pool, and they wanted to move into a single story that was closer to their kids and grandkids, up on the north central side of town. And buying and selling, selling a home, and then selling a home like that, and at the same time buying a single story, smaller home, newer home, it can be really stressful and complicated.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I simplified the process for them, and I showed them step by step what was going to happen along with the timeline, and I guided them through the entire process, and minimized the stress and simplified everything for them. And they were incredibly grateful. Now they're living within a mile, of in between their 2 children and the grandkids, and love it.
Nice.
So
wow, that's awesome.
it was very gratifying.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet it felt really fulfilling to be able to do that with your work.
So that's the type of thing that I really enjoy.
Okay. I like that, man. I really do.
Yeah. And so that was one of the major reasons, and the fact that I'm making much more money now than I was then. And so, both things. So, and I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. I'm 68, and I'll probably continue to do this until my mind goes. And I'm setting up, a family educational trust, for my extended family,
Mm-hmm.
so that future generations, will have the money to go to college.
Yeah.
I was very
Nice.
fortunate that I was able to work my way through college. It's much more challenging today because, college is so much more expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, you go to college and you come out and you're saddled with huge amounts of debt.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. Well,
So,
I was gonna ask you, is there I don't know how much more time you have, but I do want to be respectful of your time. Um, do you like I'll go ahead and send you these 2 case studies that I have. It's basically video testimonials, but
okay.
do you happen to know anyone that I can help?
I don't right now. What I would do is, because I haven't been, really looking for anybody, what I would do is I would talk to your friends, see if you can get a few people that, they may be able to recommend that you could help. And then, the other thing you could do, to develop a potential client list is talk to business owners and let them know that you'd like to interview them, in your target. Interview them and say, here's what I'm doing. Maybe start a YouTube channel, and
Mhm.
interview them and profile their business. All of these people, they don't know how to promote themselves for the most part. Almost all of them need exposure.
Yeah.
And many of them will jump at the chance to do that. And, that's a way for you to get your foot in the door
Yeah, I hear you.
and develop a relationship with them. Frank Kern talks about, the easiest way to convince people that you can help them is by actually helping them.
Right. So I go to a networking group on Wednesdays, and there's like I can definitely, speak there if I wanted to, and it's a good sized crowd.
Yeah.
And so I definitely want to go there and because I'm attending now just as a consumer, you can say, right? And I can definitely speak up there and just talk about like even this like recent campaign that I ran. And
Yeah.
I mean,
like,
people will start coming
do
up.
they have anybody in the group that does marketing?
I'm not even sure, to be honest. It's just a really big sized group, and it's just very casual. It's just like not like you need to bring referrals or nothing like BNI, but yeah, it's just very casual, and people just connect there.
Okay. Well, then you could say, here's what I'm looking for. And here's who I might be able to help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Provide a case.
So now, like, the thing is, like, yeah, like I can definitely speak, but now it's like, let's work on the skill of speaking.
Most definitely. It makes a huge difference.
Right. Because one thing is talking one on one to people or one to the camera, right? But like another thing is actually speaking to a group of people, which is totally different.
Yeah. I was just talking with another guest yesterday about this, um, Kelly. And what we were talking about was, you know, it, it's like, okay, um, how do you go about um, influencing, you know, your target market, in your case, business owners?
Yeah.
And there's a great book by Tim Pollard. It's called The Compelling Communicator. And he has a company called Iridium, and he advises international and national clients on sales and marketing campaigns and strategies. And the essence of this book is, okay, identify the one thing you want your audience to do. And then once you've done that, is identify what they need to believe in order to do that.
Okay.
And then once you've identified what they need to believe, identify what they believe now. And then the next step is, okay, we've got this gap between what they believe now and what they need to believe. What points do we need to make in order to shift their belief from where they are now to where we need them to be in order to take the action we'd like them to take? And then once we've identified those points, it's what stories can we share that best illustrate those points? And personal stories work best. And then the final point in the book is, all right, once you do that, all right, from the audience's perspective, what points do we need to make first and in what order?
Okay.
All right. And so any sales manager will tell you that we all make decisions based on emotion,
Right.
and then we justify them with logic. And
Right.
the only tool we have to effectively reach people on an emotional level is story. A well-crafted, well-told story.
Yeah.
And then, so in order for the story to work most effectively, it's once we identify the point that the story needs to make, then what we look at is, okay, it goes into a number of things, but really it goes down to three things. We need characters that the audience can identify with and empathize with.
Mm-hmm.
We need a challenge that needs to be overcome that the audience understands and relates to. And then we need change or the positive result that's going to come from this change, and the audience needs to understand that. It's the what it was like emotionally before the change, and then what it's like emotionally after the change. And so these are the type of things that we go over at Storytellers.
Okay.
Is, you know, when you're crafting stories, how you go about creating that. And so that's what you're looking at there. What can I share to transport this audience from where they are right now in their beliefs and thinking to where they need to be in order to take the action I'd like them to take?
Okay, I see. Yeah, and you story sells, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so, you know, that's what we're looking at there is, okay, what do we need to do? What story can we share that's going to cause this audience to shift their beliefs?
Yeah, I really like that. And I honestly like I just really want to just get comfortable speaking to a lot of people. That way I can get my message out there as quick as possible to a mass audience rather than just one-on-one Zoom calls with prospects, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I know people that, you know, in real estate that have multi-million dollar businesses simply because of YouTube,
Oh wow.
you know,
Because you're speaking to the
and
masses,
it's
right?
something that, yeah, I'm going to have to start doing it. I haven't been doing it, but it's something I'm going to have to start doing because I know it works. And I've just been putting it off because I've got stuff that's working and, um, you know, but I know that that's the future and I'm going to have to start doing it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, maybe there's some help I can do for you as far as that area goes. If there's anything I could do, just let me know, honestly, from what I know.
Yeah, most definitely. Um, so we can continue our conversation, you know, and I can continue to answer questions that you have about, you know, building your business and, you know, continuing to attract clients and help you in, you know,
Well,
however I can.
yeah, and I thank you for that too. I definitely took some notes from our call and from what I've kind of gotten from you, from when I told you my situation in the beginning.
Yeah.
You're basically telling me social proof is everything, right? Just build up your testimonials first step, and then you told me to send you your personal or my personal email so you can send me some on video testimonials.
Yeah, I'll send you what I got from my clinics,
Okay, and then
what I've used for years.
and so create a lead magnet, right? And
Yep.
just set up a Google My Business right away and just get those Google reviews. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And then what did you mean by local or vertical?
Um, Local is businesses in your local area. A vertical would be like businesses in a certain category of business, like roofers or painters or contractors or plumbers or heating and air conditioning companies.
Gotcha.
That kind of
So all those like sub niches within that niche, right?
yeah, anything to do with, you know, home care.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and that's exactly the model that I was shooting for as well. First, I just wanted to start, as focus pointed as possible with just painters.
Okay.
And so just because I know the way they speak now, like after cold calling them so much, right? Like I know the way they speak. And I thought I'd start out with like let's say 10 painter clients that we get first.
Okay.
And then after 10 case studies, right now I'm at case study number 2. Once we're at 10 case studies, then it's like, all right, now let's expand more as a vertical. Would that make
There you
sense to
go.
do?
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Okay. That's kind of what I was heading for, but I'm glad I asked you this too, because I didn't know what you meant by vertical, but now I definitely kind of know more.
Got it. Yeah. And so I know people that have done it both, done it, one of the two ways. You don't want to do it both the same time. It's just too overwhelming.
Yeah.
Just pick one and, either go local, or, depends on what you want to do. I know people that love getting in front of people face to face, and you can do that locally. If you do a vertical and you start working, just a vertical in different cities, then it's all, Zoom and on the phone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to this Toastmasters this Saturday, and definitely hopefully I don't really know what to expect, to be honest. I was just in that one call for like 5 minutes and then I had to get out. But yeah, I'll definitely just attend and see what it's all
Yeah,
about.
what you're going to see, Alex, is you're going to see that our typical meetings are basically three parts. We have usually it's three prepared speakers, and then after each speaker, we have a round robin of feedback and suggestions. We found that our members can learn and grow more quickly if they get um, feedback from a wide variety of perspectives.
Okay.
And so the feedback is twofold. One is we want to reinforce what helped make the speaker's presentation effective. And we also want to offer suggestions on how they might be able to improve. And the cardinal rule here is to be helpful. And so the feedback, you'll find it follows. We found that the most effective format for feedback is talk first about what helped make the speech effective. You build a bridge of trust, and the speaker says, okay, here's what I'm doing. And then they're more open to suggestions. Here's what you might do to consider. Here's what you might consider to for improvement. And you offer, suggestions. And then we end up with something, that reinforces, they're doing a good job, they're growing, they're learning, they're improving.
Mhm.
And so that's what we do. So that's prepared speeches, round robin feedback, and then the third section of our meetings are impromptu speaking. We have most clubs, they call it table topics because we're storytellers.
Yeah.
Call it story topics. And the group is given a question, and then the table topics master calls on somebody. And then you have 1 to 2 minutes in order to answer that. It's just like in our, in our regular lives, personal and professional, we get asked questions every day.
Yeah.
It happens really frequently, and it's a critically important skill. And
Yeah.
so we learn how to speak on an impromptu basis.
Gotcha. Okay,
And
I
those
like
are the
that.
three major portions of our meeting.
Okay.
And because our members, have a lot of expertise, and they are friendly and open and willing to share of themselves, you know, we focus on learning and helping each other grow and enjoying the experience.
Well, that's definitely what I'm looking for. So I'm glad I ran into you.
Yeah, most definitely. And this Saturday, the 20th, we have a guest speaker coming in that's going to do a workshop on, selecting your story and, standing out. Very Price was the 2021 world champion of public speaking. Toastmasters is a worldwide organization in, I think, about 180, 190 countries.
Okay.
And each year there's between 30 and 40,000 people that compete through about 7 levels of competition. And the World Championship finals are at the International Convention in August. and she won back in 2021.
Nice.
Yeah. And so she'll be doing an hour presentation, and then we'll have a speaker, a round robin feedback, and I don't know if we'll have time for story topics next week or not. But that's what you're going to typically see. And then when you join the group, then you're paired up with a mentor, and they help you in terms of answer questions you have and guide you and encourage you. And they'll also help you craft at least your first 3 presentations.
Okay.
And there are people in the group that have ongoing mentors, if that's what you want.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and membership, here's how that works. It's $10 a month. So for a 6-month period, that's $60. That's what Toastmasters International charges. We have online at Toastmasters.org. We have an online educational portal with videos and resources. And each path, it's about 15 speeches, is $20. So now you're up to a total of $80. And then the club dues are $9 for every 6 months. So the total is $89, and that's it. And then every 6 months after that, it's $69.
Okay. So every 6 months is $89?
Every 6 months, it's $69. And up front, it's $89.
Okay.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So for what you're getting, it's a real bargain.
Yeah, no, it really is.
Yeah.
Well,
so
yeah,
why don't you send
definitely...
me your email? I'll send you the stuff that I have on video testimonials. And I know you're going to have a lot of other questions. Feel free to reach out.
Yeah,
and then
well, along the way, as like time passes by, I can send you the questions I have, because
most definitely,
because things will happen, and then more questions will pop up, and you know what I'm saying. So I'm definitely gonna take what you told me today and go about that, right? And then just move on to the next step after that.
Okay.
Because,
all right, good.
Yeah, so I appreciate you hopping on the call with me and kind of giving me a good guide there.
Yeah,
because I mean, it's true. Like social proof is everything in the beginning.
Yeah, and if you think we work together well, and you want to mentor at storytellers after you join, I'd be glad to mentor you.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate that. Just because now you know my situation, and you know that I want to basically use Toastmasters to prepare myself for those Wednesday networking meetings, that I can speak there publicly, since you guys are in Nevada, right?
Your first speech will probably be an icebreaker where you introduce yourself to the club.
Okay.
And that, I'll send you a link to that. That's public. And so you get an idea of what the online learning portal is like. And then after that, if you want to practice presentations for your networking group, you're more than welcome to do that.
Okay. Yeah. Because as you know, I really want to speak to those people in that networking group and be able to have some value to give to them, just because that's in person, and it's like so effective when it's in person. Yeah, most definitely. And so we'll talk more about that. Sure. All right. Well, I appreciate you hopping on the call with me. Yeah, most definitely. Send me your email, and I'll send you stuff on the video testimonial and on the icebreaker speech. Okay. All right. Sounds good, Greg. Good talking with you. Take care. Right. You as well. Bye. Boom. All right. That right there. That right there is a wrap. No, that was something, man. That was something. That was something, bro. It's 8:03 p.m. Sunday, April 14th. And fuck, dude. How am I getting in front of these millionaires like that, bro? How? Shit. Alex, you up to something, bro. Damn, bro. I cannot believe it, dude. I'm gonna turn this fucking watch into a rollie, bro. Promise you. Promise you, man. That was something, man. We're gonna make it. We're gonna fucking make it, bro. Oh, I promise you, man. Pops, I'm doing it for you, bro. Mom, I'm doing it for you. All right. They're the first to get repayment back for taking care of me all my life. I'll tell you that, bro. Today I had a conversation with my dad, and I told him I was gonna make it for him. And I told him with conviction and belief. He started crying over the phone. And I told him, I'm gonna make it for you, Pops. I promise you, we're gonna make it. We'll make it for you. All right. Every fucking rejection that I get on a cold call or a sales call, I'm gonna think of you, Pops. And I'll be like, nah, we only winning. We're only winning. Because we're winning. And shit, I told my dad, I'm gonna do it for you, bro. I'm gonna make it for you. I promised him that today. Sunday, April 14th is the day I promised my dad I was gonna make it for him. So that's what we're gonna do. All right. I'm gonna make it for him. Let's get it. I'm gonna go back to Mexico. We're gonna split the fortune with them over there too. On everything. Look it up or look up Alex. I'm fucking with you.